So I've never tried to explain this before. I'm going to try to explain it now, and we will see how that goes. As far as a workout routine goes, specifically strength training, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to worry too much about cardio right now, but like in terms of having resistance bands, dumbbells, stuff like that that you can use to build strength and sort of, you know, get a better handle of your personal fitness. There's something to keep in mind about that. I have mentioned already that it's helpful to use smaller weights and do lots of reps. Don't focus, like we tend to focus on like, in school they would have us do maxing out and trying to build up and do as much as possible. For especially for somebody who's not young anymore, that can actually be somewhat counterproductive. A lot of people end up getting injured because, or they go really hard at first, and then that burns them out, and they ultimately end up deciding that, you know, fitness isn't for them or whatever, or that they just, you know, that it's, they might end up thinking there's something wrong with them, honestly. And I will say, I had a trainer for a little while. I had him come up with a routine for me, which I did every day. Got to the point where I was doing it like twice a day. I was spending 3.5, 4 hours doing strength training every day just to really understand it for myself, and because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. That's fine if you got the time to do that, if you got the desire to do that, and if you enjoy doing that, awesome. But if you don't all of those things, you might hear that and be like, holy cow, you know, that's not me. So firstly, let me grab one of these light dumbbells over here. Okay, so basically these are, I think it's 2.5 on each side, so it's essentially as light as it can be. This is 5 pounds without, you know, there literally being no weight on the dumbbell. We got 5 pounds in weight, and we got 5 pounds in the dumbbell itself. So each of these is around 10 pounds, a little bit less. I think it's like 9 or something like that. But basically, when I've got these in my hands, what I'm doing, like what you could do, you could be like, okay, I'm gonna do my arm curls, and then I do a little twist out. You don't have to do that. You could just do like a plain old hammer curl. You could be like, okay, I'm gonna do my overhead triceps extensions. So, you know, like I said, I used to have a trainer. He wrote up a whole routine for me. I sent you pictures where you can see a variety of different exercises to do. It's good to be aware of that stuff. I'm not saying don't do that stuff, but what I will say is I think these days, I think less in terms of, oh, I need to do, like, so for example, the routine that I had written up for me, he had me do 3 sets of 12 of each thing. So it'd be like, okay, I do 3 sets of 12 of my biceps curls. I do 3 sets of 12 of my, you know, triceps extensions. I do 3 sets of 12 of, you know, chest presses, whatever it is. I'm doing 3 sets of 12, and that, once I have done that, I think in my head, okay, I'm good. You know, I did that for the day. But like the way I think about it now, especially because like as I've gotten older, there's just more stuff going on in my body, like more stuff I can feel as I go through these, like. I'm thinking less about the specific exercises I need to do, and I'm thinking about what I feel in my body, how I am experiencing the movement. So for example, I stand here with just the dumbbells, and I'm having to crouch over a little bit to really get into the mic, so that's not me like trying to do anything. That's just more trying to get better position on the mic. But yeah, so I'm standing up straight now. And you know, if I want to do, let's say I want to do biceps curls. So we're doing this, that's fine. That's all well and good. Like I can feel as I do this, like right here in the, like the sort of core of my bicep, that's where the action is happening. And that's good. That's where you want it to be happening. You know, we could do it over here, and you want to think in your head, focus on it. Like if you're feeling like weird tingles in your elbow or your shoulder, whatever, don't like basically stop, reevaluate, slow down. There's no need for what you're doing to be fast, and it's much more important that what you're doing is correct. Like what they will call it is good form. I think that talking in terms of good form can be if not confusing, even a little annoying for people, because it becomes kind of this nerdy thing where like fitness enthusiasts are just calling out people for bad form. It's not about that. It's about trying to understand, hear the signals in your body, and basically if you're doing the motion in the correct way, you will probably have correct form. But what I think gets left out of the conversation a lot of times, like I said, as you get older, as people burn out on fitness, get injuries and stuff like that, not everybody can do the exercises with correct form. Like, they may try to do it, and they'll just find if I can't even get to 12, whatever it is, or maybe I put too much weight on it or whatever. But basically they will end up hurting themselves trying to get correct form. So instead of just thinking like in some abstract way, oh, I need to do this with the right motions, otherwise it's going to be a problem, listen to your body. Hear what your body is saying. So, as I'm doing whatever I'm doing, once you've done this, by the way, that will break you free of the notion of, oh, I need to do 12 biceps curls with each arms, whatever. Like, you're just thinking now, okay, as I'm moving these weights around, what am I feeling? Like, for me personally, and this is going to be different for you, for me personally, I can feel it in my right shoulder, sort of like in the rear, toward the back of my shoulder blades, and I'm just sort of going back and forth and working on what I'm feeling. Like, if I'm really hitting it, I can get sort of these goosebumpy feelings, the sort of ASMR triggering type stuff for San, all that kind of stuff. If you really nail it, you can feel it, and that's what you'll want to be doing. Like, you want the exercise to be something that feels like relief, like release for you, like basically it should feel good. If it doesn't feel good, make it feel good. Find a way to make it feel good. So like right now, all I'm doing is I'm just moving these back and forth. I'm listening very carefully to like what my body is saying. When I say listening, I don't obviously mean like orally, although sometimes that can happen. Like for example, see if I can get this to happen. But basically, there are some parts where I know if I move in a certain way, I will hear a click or a pop come from my body. Let's see if I can get it in the microphone. Oh, it's actually best in my neck right now, so I don't know if you were able to hear that. When I raised this up, I had a little neck motion that when I moved my head in a certain way, my neck popped. And that pop feels good. It feels like sort of tension that needs to be worked out. So really, as I'm doing this sort of back and forth motion, it's just as important what I'm doing with my head, and I'm feeling how my vertebrae, my shoulder blades, how they're all working together, this sort of concert motion, and trying to make it feel good, trying to make it feel right. And yeah, like I said, once you start doing stuff like this, you will eventually start breaking out of this notion of specific exercises you want to do. Maybe you'll get back into that. Like maybe if you end up deciding, oh, I just love doing biceps curls, whatever, then you'll be like, all right, that's the one that, that'll be my go-to. That will be how I find what I need to be doing. Or if you don't feel a lot of what I'm talking about with the tension and tightness that you need to work out, maybe you'll just go right into your routine, and that's great. Awesome. But like the most important thing, listen to what your body is saying, and respond to it, react to it. Try to make what you're doing enhance positive feelings in your body. So that's the first thing. Another thing I was thinking about that actually got me to start doing this video, the thing that I haven't really explained before. Okay, so every motion you make with your body, there's only a certain number of ways you can move that joint, right? So let's take the elbow for an obvious example. I can move it up, down. I can't very effectively do this kind of motion. There's not really the structure for that. Like, I wouldn't really want to, like, there's no exercise I can think of where I grab like a dumbbell and move it this way. Like, maybe I should, maybe that's something I should work on, but like it doesn't feel right. Maybe someday that'll be what I want to do. But like what I'm getting at is like you want to focus on the axes that like you're going to be moving your muscles in regularly. So like weird motions, stuff like that, like I tend to avoid that kind of stuff. Like there's things like, I mean, even some common stuff like, lunges and squats that trainers will have you do. I generally avoid that stuff. And I will show you in a minute what I will do instead, but I will generally avoid stuff where it's like, these aren't motions that you do on a regular basis. It's not because, like there is value in that. If like your goal is to be, you know, a power lifter, super strength trainer, or whatever, like you want to be big and bulky, then you might want to do some training of stuff that isn't like normal natural motions. But for me, like I'm more concerned with like day-to-day fitness, like with feeling my best as I'm, you know, walking up the stairs, walking down to the mailbox and getting, you know, the mail, stuff like that you actually do on a normal day, on a everyday basis. So like, I'm less worried about, like with this motion I was saying, where you're doing this little side thing, like I don't know when you do that, but like, so basically there's this axis here, let's call it if we go X, Y, Z, then I'm moving this arm on the Y axis. It's also moving in the Z axis, but like basically this up-down motion, we're going up in Z and out in Y, and nothing's happening in X. And this could get a little like mathy and nerdy, so if that is a problem, we can talk about it. But basically the reason I'm mentioning that is because the way I think about some of these resistance exercises, so take this, for example. This is a back spring that my boyfriend got it to do some like back workout that he ended up not ever doing. So I put these handles on it, and as I hold this thing up, like just holding it straight out, for example, the resistance that is being applied to my muscles is going down in the down Z direction. So basically, if I just wanted to hold this out, most of the action that I'm feeling, like most of the muscle action that I'm feeling, that I'm experiencing, is in, like right now, it's in the back of my shoulders. I feel like as I move up and down, there's shoulder activation going on right here, but that motion in Z, you can, the Z being the up down, you can transfer that to a different dimension. So we call this Y, right? So if this is wanting to pull down in Z, if I pull out with my hands in Y, I reduce some of the Z pull. I reduce some of the motion in Z. So I can actually transfer the pull down motion that's happening from the weight of this back spring thing itself, because it's whatever, it's like 5 pounds on its own. I transfer that downward weight to an outward motion. And I can then basically scale it, or you know, however much. Like here now we're going. If I'm 0, that's positive Y. That's negative Y. Then like now it's all positive Y. Now it's all negative Y. I could go this way and work on in the X direction as well. And like as you move through these different directions, you're also doing different exercises. So, you know, I'm doing like this. Right now I'm working on the left arm going out and the right arm pulling. But then as we go through, now we're working on the right arm pushing out, the left arm pulling. As we go, so for example, we want to do this. We're getting a little bit of torso twist action in there too. And what we started with, you know, when I just picked it up and held it, was something where all we were getting is downward in Z. Like we could go upward in Z too. Like we could come up here, we could come down there. I'm trying to avoid knocking into the microphone. But like using that mentality, you can start to think of ways to do stuff that you might otherwise think you couldn't do. So for example, this is a figure 8 band. This is one of my favorite resistance bands. One of the fun things to do with it, just lift your leg up, right? And as I was saying with the back spring setup there, the motion right now is in Z downward, right? So like my body, my arm, my leg, when I lift it up, it wants to go down in Z. So I could put this under there, and now we have reduced the motion in Z, but not like it still wants to pull down, but as I pull up, like we sort of neutralize that force, and now we have basically you can find your balance. Like a lot of people will see me do this type of stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh man, I wish I had the balance to be able to do that." Well, you know, it starts with figuring out where your axes are, where the resistance is wanting to take you, and how to cancel that and put it where you want it to be. So like I can do this now, and basically now the motion has gone, in negative Y, and now we're pulling down and Z. Like we basically just transferred this energy, and a lot of what's wanting to pull me down and knock me over is in my arm. instead of my legs. So like, it's not even about balance to a large extent, right? Like now it's about me pulling, it's about this motion. Like as long as I can keep my legs steady, which, you know, it'll take practice, you can transfer a lot of the danger, a lot of the force that you're trying to counter into some other motion. So now, like I could just stand here, right? Like with no other exercise, and now you could say like 100% of the work is on my left leg. And that will wear out my left leg a lot faster than if I do this. Now maybe 20, 30%, or it's probably more, but like way less of the strain is on my leg than it was a minute ago. So if you find yourself feeling like you don't have great balance, start by like basically, you know, go here, get down wherever it's comfortable, listen to your body, feel the motion, and feel how like, okay, now I'm focusing on my left or my right leg, and then as I pull up on this band that's connected to my leg, we're actually negating some of the force that wants to go down on my right leg. So like we're now just providing relief to the right leg. There's so many different ways you can do this too. Like I think I want to go over here, like this is already pretty long, but I think I want to go over here and show you what I was doing before this video, because it's another way that you can do kind of this stuff. All right, so I am going to be on, hold on. I'm going to be on that scaffolding, and what I'm going to show you, I can probably, hold on. I wonder how audible I am over here, but there's another mic right here, but it's not turned up as much as the one that I just walked away from. So basically, yeah, now we're over here, and before I started this, I was doing this kind of thing. Let's see if I can get a better angle on it. So literally what I'm doing there is I'm pushing with one hand while I pull with the other hand, and then switching which one I'm doing. So basically push one way, pull the other way, push one way, pull the other way, back and forth. And that allows you to get a good amount of just general arm motion and arm flex in, while actually not doing a whole lot of motion. And you can expand out your arms, target slightly different stuff. Also, so like we were talking about earlier, you know, if I were to just flop backward without grabbing onto anything here, then we have that motion, and it would have been negative X and Z, let's say, where I want to flop back and hit the ground, right? Obviously, I can cancel some of that motion by doing this. So as I do that motion, I was talking about squats earlier. I don't generally do squats. What I will do though is I can do stuff like this. Now that takes way more of the strain off of your legs. I've heard multiple stories from people who did squats and ended up injuring their knee or whatever, and honestly it just doesn't feel great. And like, if you don't have great form in squats, it might not feel great, but you might hurt yourself trying to learn right form, which would be really unfortunate. So like, for me personally, it's just like, I don't even see the value in the risk of trying to do that. If I were trying to, you know, squat 400 pounds or whatever, maybe I'd be more focused on that. I'm just trying to be able to do the squat motion without hurting myself, right? So if we start and we just hold on to this, and then we go squat up and come back down, like we're practicing squats now. It's of course a totally different like target, like the places that you're hitting aren't going to be the same as like real squats,
but like that allows you actually to, like I was doing stuff with my shoulders, I'm feeling all kinds of like clicks and pops as I do that. Like it's a good, not only is it a good alternative for people who don't want to do, or who may not end up doing squats anyway, like if you wanted them to, it is another way to work stuff that minimizes the risk in what you're trying to do. Like my knees feel great while I'm doing that, my legs feel great, my back feels great while I'm doing that, and I'm still practicing getting down and getting back up again. Like basically this is a motion, this motion, more than the squats motion, is something I'm more likely to do in my day-to-day, right? Like it's much more likely that if I want to bend down and do that kind of thing, I'm going to try to brace myself on something. Oh, I'll grab and do this kind of deal. Then, I'll grab, 400 pounds of sand and throw it over my back and do a squat. Like, when are you going to do that? Unless you're doing exercise. But yeah, so I'll go with that for now. There's more I can show, but this is already long enough, and I need to make sure that the audio sounds good. So we'll go with that for now.